Let's talk about Motherly Lovecraft. I finally get to fucking talk about this movie. This movie has been my baby for the past year. And now, if you're watching this, it's finally out. So I'm gonna take time and I'm going to talk about this film. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how we prepared for pre-production. Then I'll have a couple other videos breaking down production and post-production, all of that jazz. The story is about a daughter reconnecting with her estranged mother, and then she finds out that her mom is in a cult and the mom is trying to sacrifice her to gain higher status in her cult. So I wrote this with Aaron Beckler. This Aaron Beckler.
Hello.
We didn't have a lot of budget and we had to make this film as good as I wanted it to be. We're limited by time, we're limited by a lot of things. You have to be extremely prepared. You can't just show up on set and then go, oh, what are we doing? So how I prepared, I went into Blender and I made little animatics and I did a crude animation of basically any scene that required action. And it honestly was great because I could just go into Blender and I just found angles and I didn't have to go on set and go, oh, I don't know, maybe that way or that way. I already did the, oh, I don't know, earlier, and that's how you save money and time. Tests, tests, tests. So we did a bunch of tests for this film. I had a good amount of VFX in this film that I never actually have done before. Giant creature work, tentacle monsters, destruction through doors and ceilings and shit. And so I had to test out and see if I could do it before we waste the time and energy and money on something that I knew I couldn't do. So we tested the monk head. We also tested the door smash where the tentacle busts through the door. The test looks like shit, but I only took like an hour on it. So I basically do this. If it takes me an hour to do something and it looks like shit, that means it can look like less shit if I take a whole day on it. So one of the more important tests was color. RGB lights are so weird because when you film on a sensor like this, you never know what color is going to make skin look weird. And so you really have to test it. The original color for the Motherly Lovecraft was supposed to be pink. It wasn't supposed to be purple. But pink was washing out the skin tone in a weird way. And so with the test, we were like, oh, a more purpley look looked better because it didn't wash out the skin and you could actually see a little bit more detail in it. It was really weird to learn all that stuff. Now, that might be because I'm not that great of a cinematographer or a lighter, but it was great to learn that you can learn. I don't know.
The way the monster was gonna look was like a big thing. Because you didn't want it to be like a Cthulhu, even though it's like Lovecraftian horror, you didn't want it to be like a giant squid.
I did not.
But also there was the discussion, like we never fully get like a look at the monster.
No, and we wanted it to be ambiguous and Lovecraftian in a way. Like if you read Lovecraft, it's a lot up to your imagination. He uses a lot of words that make you feel things, but he doesn't actually form them.
The horror is in the anticipation.
You're always blocking the monster's body.
Yes.
I had like a lot of reference to different, tentacle monsters all in here. Will pop up images of me, of my references. But then I kind of just went for simplicity, I think. Something that just looked impossible, but just like millions of tentacles in the far background and being obscured by a giant star.
The real horror is the fact that her mom is about to do this to her. The monster is only the second scariest thing. When I was like plotting out the vision boards for what I wanted each of the characters to
Pinterest
wear.
boards.
Pinterest is what I mean when I say that. Because I did costumes. Looking and making sure we got the just right monk costumes.
Yes.
That I then had to dye red because they were brown, but we wanted them to be more red, specifically to match Rosie's costume.
Yeah, we decided early on, like, color was very important. The daughter is this, like, mauve.
Yeah, it was like pink.
She is, like, the start of a color. Then the mom is right in the middle. And then the monks are the farthest end of it.
Yeah.
And so it's this kind of, like,
a spectrum through the costuming.
yeah, and showing what could be if she ended up like her mom in a way. It's a lot of this pre-production where you have to think about all this crap, and nobody cares. How do we write this thing?
It's a really unique concept. Don't really think that there's been a sapphic, Lovecraftian, sci-fi, horror short film. Mommy issues, short film. Unfortunately, this is something where when we've explained the concept of it to a lot of people, unfortunately they relate. Maybe they have a similar dynamic between somebody in their family as well. It's something that is very grounded in reality while also incorporating those really strong like genre elements.
I kind of had this realization that like I'm being too afraid to write what I know because I was too afraid that it would not be relatable to anybody. And so this film, even though it's a fucking crazy film about a mom sacrificing her daughter to a cult, I connected to it in a strange way. Oddly enough, a lot of the things that I took from this film and some of the lines were stripped right out of my actual life. And so it was this weird way, it's not therapy, it was more or less writing what I know and creating an interesting character from that and breaking down something to this emotional level that I feel like if somebody could relate to it, they would feel some emotion. I think what we figured out with this one specifically, write truthfully, but also add the shit that you like sci-fi, big monsters, all that stuff. You have to have a balance of it.
We really wanted to make something that was close to the heart, and we wanted to kind of take something that's very real, like a complex relationship between a parent and a child, and something that's very otherworldly, like a monster that lives in a closet that's worshipped by a cult, and put them together. I think what we learned is that it's so much easier to write about the things that you already have inside you. Things like high fantasy and sci-fi, like horror. Yeah. Those things are all really great. It's very exciting and it's very unique, but the best way to get a good story at the core is to write what you know. You can't just have big monster movie with nothing but big monster.
Well, you can.
But I'm not gonna watch it.
She's not gonna watch it. I'll watch it. I watch Godzilla vs. Kong any day.
No, the monkey dinosaur movie, that's not for me.
Dinosaur? You think Godzilla is a dinosaur?
He kind of looks like one.
He's not a dinosaur.
He's a big lizard.
He's a kaiju. A kaiju. What we need to worry about as storytellers is the emotion, not the big effects, not how good the shot looks, not how shallow depth of field our cameras are, you know? You gotta think, honestly, the simplest thing to do for your films is just to have emotion in it. Now that could be making a joke, that could be sadness. It doesn't always have to be crying, it doesn't always have to be blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I think it was important for me to get out of my comfort zone and write something and make something that I wanted to. That concludes this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'm gonna get really close to you. I hope you all enjoyed. Again, it's all about taking risks with storytelling and prepping as best as you can. Check out the short film here, and this video will probably be the next video in the timeline that you can watch to show how we did the production. So, yeah.